Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Backyard Bodybuilding. No, in all seriousness, what you're seeing is the start of the second home gym. And when I say second home gym, I'm not talking a full-on mini commercial gym like I have in my basement. I'm talking stuff that's easy to store outside, keep in the shed, or I can just bring upstairs to the outdoors, right up the bulkhead from the basement. So I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. You might be wondering why I'm lifting outside, why I'm building a second home gym. Like, what's all this about? Well, one thing that I find tends to lack a little bit on YouTube fitness, social media fitness in general, in just kind of in the more informative side of content creation that I am partaking in and have been for the past few years. One thing that's missing significantly is a look into the actual content creator's mindset. So when you watch my videos, one thing you'll realize is while I have my own twist on them and my own personal experience is always tied into each video, it's not directly about me. It's my experience and me translating that into something that you'll be able to apply to your own training. But you don't really get to hear what goes on in my own head, what I think about my own specific training, and how my own mindset relates to that. So if all that word salad makes sense to you, let me expand on that a little bit. The past few months, especially the past couple weeks, now that I'm in a little bit of a deficit, I'll touch a little bit more on that maybe at the end of the video, but that's all kind of besides the point. It's a little bit more boring in my opinion. I've been losing a little bit of motivation for lifting lately. And does this mean I'm not lifting as much as I used to, not lifting as hard as I usually do? No, I'm going through the same routine I always have because I've been lifting since I was 17, and that doesn't just disappear with a little bit of a loss of motivation. My lack of motivation isn't from a lack of the desire for results, but what I found is perfectly correlated with my lower motivation to lift, I've had an increased motivation to go outside. Since it's been decently nice out, I've been doing more and more things outside that I wouldn't normally enjoy, just so I can get outside a little bit more, whether it's maybe a little bit more yard work, whether it's going on like a little walk or a hike in some trails near my house or something, going kayaking more, all these kinds of things, and even trying to look into new hobbies just to get outside more. Hockey, these kinds of things. Well, not indoor hockey, obviously, but roller hockey outside. I've had this increasing desire to do more and more stuff outside. The one thing I found is that everything that I was doing outside, whether it was a hike or a kayak or playing roller hockey at the outdoor rink, these things were all no more than leisure, no more than hobbies. What I needed was something a little bit more fulfilling that I could do outside. And I'm just now kind of realizing this. The reason that I'm losing motivation to go to the gym and to go downstairs in the basement to lift when it's beautiful outside is because I don't want to be in a basement in the middle of summer. I don't want to go to the commercial gym where everybody's just half-assing their training and trying to get in and out as fast as they possibly can. Like, I don't like those environments. I love the equipment. I have a huge passion for great exercise selection, optimizing your training, and just overall practicing true bodybuilding. But what these gyms lack, and my basement included, as great as my equipment is, it lacks a good atmosphere. And yeah, sometimes it's great to be down in the dungeon of my basement gym. There are times where I absolutely love that. And me saying all this isn't me taking it for granted. But what I'm realizing is I needed something that was a little bit more fulfilling that I could do outside. And the perfect combination for that is simply just lifting outside. And obviously what you're seeing right now is kind of a bare bones setup. But it was an excellent workout. Is it optimal? Not even close. Is it good enough for me to make sustained progress over the course of like a longer period of time? Maybe a little bit, but when you're at the stage of lifting that I'm at, which is roughly late intermediate, even though that's a fairly vague term, I'm probably going to need something that's a little bit more specific, a little bit more stable, and I need just a little bit more personalized stuff to keep growing. Like, if I want to get 19-inch arms, like, I'm sorry, but I'm going to need a preacher curl, and I'm not bringing a 200-pound preacher curl outside or letting it rust outside over the winter or anything like that. So what I'm doing here is a suboptimal workout in an optimal environment. So you kind of have to pick and choose your battles. And ultimately, where lifting is just as much of a mental game as it is a physical game, you have to kind of strike that balance. So where am I going with all this? Basically, I'm going to take a bit of a hybrid approach to my hypertrophy training moving forward. It's still going to be including mostly stuff that is in a suboptimal environment, so maybe the home gym or the commercial gym, even though the equipment is all S plus tier in both of those places. But the atmosphere sucks, just to put it bluntly. And I don't think I'm alone with that. Like, joining a new commercial gym is exciting, but after the first 2 weeks, like, you get sick of it. The same kind of goes for a home gym. Not that I'm sick of my home gym, I still love it, and every time I go down and turn the light on in the basement, my jaw drops open that I actually managed to not only find all this equipment, but actually get it for good deals, and that I was able to even get it down in that basement through my little bulkhead. But I need something with basically an atmosphere and an environment that can kind of fire me up, and whether that's getting me motivated or just making it an overall perfect balance between lifting as hard as I can but also getting to enjoy the peace and quiet of being outside. It's all excellent stuff for your psyche, and I think being able to do something like this, like lifting, which is just such an incredibly hard task to try and push yourself to failure on every set, and even beyond failure on a lot of lifts. Like, you need to be in a good mental state, you need to be in a good environment to do all that. So yeah, the lifts in this session, not ideal, not optimal, but if I can include stuff like this and build up this little outdoor gym, this is a great complement to what I'm doing in the commercial gym or in the basement. And that makes what I do in the basement more motivating, because I know I can build off of these two separate training styles in my training in the basement or my leg press at the commercial gym. That helps me in the stuff that I'm doing outside. So that kind of leads me into my next topic here, which is just a question for you guys. What else should I get for this little outdoor home gym? I'm going to have to kind of single out probably the calisthenics guys. I know a lot of guys do have outdoor home gyms. What would you recommend? What's stuff that's easy to move? How would you recommend setting up a pull-up bar? Like, I have basically a free pull-up bar from my Power Rack. I ended up getting the multi-grip bar, and it came with, obviously, the regular straight bar. But I tried to find a couple trees that were close enough together where I could screw it into each tree. But for whatever reason, trees don't like to grow that close to each other, and I basically couldn't get that project done today. But what else do you recommend? Like maybe a power tower, Olympic ring, stuff like that. I do want to try and slowly kind of optimize and build out this home gym. But yeah, I mean, it's all going to be stuff that's just stored in my shed, stored in my basement, or stuff that just can stay outside and kind of be totally fine, which is probably a little bit less common overall. And then there's two other things I want to talk about. I'm going to stick to my word and talk about this cut phase. I think talking about bulking and cutting is incredibly boring and monotonous, but I know people are very interested in it to see not only what I'm doing, but how it can kind of relate back to their own training and how they can apply it to their own training. So I am down about 11-ish, like 10, 11, maybe 12 pounds. My weight kind of fluctuates a little bit, but I'm about 194, and that's down from about 204, 205. So definitely mostly water weight that's lost, maybe a few pounds of fat. I am looking a little bit leaner, obviously nothing crazy, but you can see definition in my arms, my chest, a little bit of ab definition. Like, you can tell they're there, but obviously I'm not like lean or anything at this point. But I'm happy with my physique, and the reason that I'm cutting down a little bit is because I didn't really enjoy being 205. It was a little bit too much for me. The eating I got so sick of food to try and force feed to stay at that weight, and I didn't need to be at that weight just to simply make progress in the gym. I can do that perfectly fine at 190 to 194. So end goal is probably about 190, and then I'll probably recomp from there as long as I can, and then maybe I'll bulk back up to 200 or so with that added muscle, so I can still stay a little bit leaner and be a little bit heavier, which I certainly wouldn't really complain about. To end the video, I guess what to expect in the future is think of this type of video in this little outdoor gym that I'm building as a bit of a side quest, or kind of like a side dish to the main channel. Of course, it's all going to be posted under Basement Bodybuilding. I'm not going to try and manage 2 separate channels. That just sounds like a nightmare when I forget my password half the time. But what I want to do is almost use these voiceovers, use this opportunity as something kind of similar in concept to the Road to 18-inch Arm series, but it's not going to be goal-oriented like that. It will be almost like a kind of a platform or a video style where I can discuss anything from the benefits of working out outside to how to build an outdoor gym to even just the psychology behind bodybuilding or hard work and overall philosophy that might relate to lifting but almost goes beyond it in other ways. So if you're interested in something like that, stick around. And with that being said, that's all I got for today. I'll see you guys in the next video.